Imagine a David versus Goliath battle, but on the manicured courts of professional tennis. The Professional Tennis Players Association, PTPA, spearheaded by none other than Novak Djokovic, has been locked in a high-stakes legal showdown with the titans of the sport, Tennis Australia, TA, and the governing bodies behind the Grand Slam tournaments. But, surprise, it looks like a truce might be on the horizon, at least with one of the giants. The PTPA, founded in 2020 with the explicitly stated goal of amplifying player power, launched a lawsuit earlier this year accusing the men's and women's tours of anti-competitive practices and a blatant disregard for player welfare. Think of it as a union arguing for better working conditions and a fairer share of the pie for its members. This wasn't just a polite request. It was a full-blown legal assault, alleging that the existing structure stifled competition and shortchanged players. Initially, the lawsuit targeted the ATP and WTA tours. Then, in a move that sent shockwaves through the tennis world, the 4 Grand Slam tournaments, the Australian Open, French Open, Wimbledon, and US Open, were added to the list of defendants. The message was clear. The PTPA was taking on the entire establishment. But here's where it gets interesting. A recent letter filed with the United States Southern District Court in New York reveals that the PTPA and Tennis Australia, the organization responsible for the Australian Open, are deep in substantive and productive bilateral settlement discussions. In layman's terms, they're talking seriously about burying the hatchet and reaching an agreement. To facilitate these talks, they've requested Judge Margaret Garnett to pause the legal proceedings specifically against Tennis Australia while they hammer out the final details. And this is the part most people miss. This request to halt proceedings only applies to Tennis Australia. The lawsuit continues full steam ahead against the other defendants. The ATP Tour, the WTA Tour, the French Tennis Federation, the All England Club, and the US Tennis Association. It's like one member of a group deciding to negotiate separately, potentially creating a divide-and-conquer scenario. Is this a strategic move by the PTPA? Or simply a reflection of Tennis Australia's willingness to address the players' concerns? The original lawsuit, a hefty 163-page document, accuses the ATP and WTA tours of wielding monopolistic control over professional tennis. The PTPA argues that these tours act as a cartel, colluding with tournaments to artificially limit prize money and block potential competitors from entering the market. Imagine a scenario where your salary is capped, and you're prevented from seeking better opportunities elsewhere. That's the essence of the PTPA's argument. Beyond prize money, the lawsuit also challenges the grueling and unsustainable tournament schedule and the fairness of the ranking system, which arguably dictates a player's earning potential and career trajectory. These are core issues that directly impact the livelihood and well-being of professional tennis players. The possibility of Tennis Australia and the PTPA reaching an agreement before the Australian Open in January is now very real. While the specifics of any potential settlement remain shrouded in secrecy, will Tennis Australia commit to increasing prize money? Will they revamp the scheduling to prioritize player health? Any agreement would undoubtedly strengthen the PTPA's bargaining position with the remaining Grand Slam organizers. After all, one domino falling could trigger a chain reaction. It's worth remembering that the New York case could ultimately end up in a jury trial, a potentially messy and unpredictable outcome for all involved. Separate complaints have also been filed with the European Commission and the UK's Competition and Markets Authority, indicating a multi-pronged legal strategy. However, the PTPA has consistently stated that its ultimate goal is not to drag the sport through years of litigation, but rather to foster meaningful reform. As Ahmad Nasser, the PTPA's executive director, put it earlier this year, the goal is not to litigate this to the end. What we want is to get everybody to the table to reform the sport the way that many of them have already spoken about. It's a call for collaboration, not just confrontation. Currently, the New York judge is evaluating a motion filed by the ATP and WTA to dismiss the antitrust lawsuit, a clear indication that the tours are digging in their heels. The ATP has vehemently rejected the PTPA's claims, calling the case entirely without merit. The WTA has echoed this sentiment, describing the lawsuit as a baseless legal case which will divert time, attention, and resources from our core mission to the detriment of our players and the sport as a whole. Interestingly, the International Tennis Federation and the International Tennis Integrity Agency were initially named as defendants but were later dropped from the lawsuit, suggesting a possible shift in strategy or a recognition of their limited role in the core issues at stake. So, what does all this mean for the future of professional tennis? Will the PTPA succeed in reshaping the sport to better serve its players? Will the Grand Slams and tours resist these changes, leading to a protracted legal battle? And perhaps most importantly, is the PTPA's vision of a player-centric sport truly sustainable in the long run? Where do you stand on this issue? Are you siding with the players, or do you believe the current system is working just fine? Share your thoughts in the comments below.